Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times. Today I hope you guys have your coffee mugs ready because we're here to check out some new books that are going to be released in the month of May. I have a total of 15 and most of them are horror, so let's start.
It's coffee time!
As every month, I love to put this list together just because it helps me to know what's coming, and it helps probably you also to know what's coming, what you would like to pre-order or just get as soon as possible. And most of the books that I always choose are horror books, but I do have a couple of sci-fi and a couple of fantasy here as well this time, combined with horror, most of them, so that's interesting. And before we go to that list, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the coffee family before you leave, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more coffee times. So there is many books that are coming out on the 4th of May, so at the very beginning of the month. So we're gonna start with those. The first one is actually a YA sci-fi slash dystopian story, but I have put this one on the list because it is a sequel from a book that I read last year. So last year I read The Loop by Ben Oliver, and now the second book is coming out and it's called The Block. I'm really excited about this one because we have here a story that is a little bit dark when it comes to the theme for being a YA story. We have a, kind of near future story in which teenagers that have committed like really small crimes are being sent to this facility called The Loop. So while they are in this facility, and in order to avoid being executed, they agree to participate in some experiments that are being performed, and it's just so dark and I absolutely loved it. It is super action-packed, so I'm really excited to be able now to follow our characters in the next story. Then we have The Whispering Dead by Darcy Coates, and this is going to be book one on the Gravekeeper series. And Darcy Coates has been making a name for herself when it comes to the ghost atmospheric adult horror books. I still have not checked out any of hers, but I've heard that this is actually a good place to start, so I might pick this one up and see what I think about it. In this story we follow Keira. So she basically is homeless, she's being hunted, and she's trying to escape a storm. So she decides to take refuge in a groundskeeper's cottage. So it is next to the cemetery that has, tombstones from 100 years ago to new ones, and something is off in this cemetery because she starts to hear voices of the dead. Then we have Hour of the Witch by Chris Bohadian. I hope that was correct, and this is a historical fiction, and this is one that I'm really interested in, even though I don't read too much historical fiction, but it is because it involves witches. So we are in the 1600s in Boston, and we follow this woman that something happens to her, and obviously everybody starts to have suspicions that she might be a witch. You know how easy it was back then to accuse people that just had other beliefs or that just plain rejected you, and you were like, I'm pointing at her and saying that she's a witch now, just to get rid of her. Like, those were really scary times for you to be a woman in those places. And yeah, I'm super interested always to hear witch stories. Moving on to Prom House by Chelsea Muller, and I absolutely love the name, I love the cover, and this is a YA horror mystery. So even though the plot that I'm gonna tell you about sounds kind of familiar, I'm still intrigued. So we have 10 people that share a prom house in Jersey Shore, and all of them, each and every single one of the 10 people, have a secret. And one day they all start dying one by one. So the question is, who is the killer? I know we've seen this done before, but I just cannot stop myself from being really interested to check out this book. The next one is Horrorland by Rivers Solomon, and this is fantasy combined with horror, which I'm really excited to see how that has been done, how those two genres are integrated in the story. And we follow Vern. She is 7 months pregnant and she wants to escape her strictly religious compound that she lives in. She wants to raise her children away from that, and so she flees to the woods and she gives their birth to twins, and we follow her story as she tries to survive. And of course, what I'm guessing is that when she thinks she's safe, she probably isn't. So I'm really excited about this one. But to be fair, even though I absolutely love when another genre is combined with horror, most of the time it's kind of a hit or a miss for me. Next, we have a paranormal YA horror book, and it is a compilation of novellas. It's called Walk Among Us, and these are all novellas written by different authors that are all related to Vampire the Masquerade, which has been one of the most well-known and popular role-playing games. I know about it. I believe nearly everybody that loves any kind of role-playing games, even people that play real video games, we've all heard about this. So it will be really interesting to read the novellas based on the game. Moving on to Unfortunate Elements of My Anatomy, edited by Hailey Piper, and this is another horror anthology, and in this case we have LGBTQ representation, so I'm super excited to check this one out and, you know, keep the horror anthologies coming. Then we have Blackwater Sister by Sen Cho, and this is a Malaysian inspired contemporary fantasy, but we also have a main character who is a medium, so in a way it can be a little bit kind of paranormal fantasy, maybe perhaps. This is adult fantasy, but it's one of those fantasies that I feel like I would like to check out. Our main character is closeted, is broke, and decides to go back to Malaysia, and she has not been there since she was a kid. And when she gets there, she starts hearing these voices that at the beginning she doesn't understand what they are, but then she realizes that she can hear the voices of ghosts. And we have another horror anthology. We have Far From Home, and this has been edited by Samantha Kolesnik, and in this horror anthology we have 16 different tales, so another great one. I absolutely love Samantha Kolesnik's book. Well, it's a novella, true crime, and I know she only edited this collection, but I'm like dying here to get something new by her, so I guess I'll have to settle with this horror anthology that she edited. The next one is in a way another compilation, but it is one of those expected, like really expected releases for me for 2021, and that is Goblin by Josh Malerman. And this is a compilation of 6 novellas, but just alone this cover, the day that this cover dropped, I went like, wishlist, yes please, thank you. I am just dying to get my hands in this book with this cover, and I'm just so here for it. So as I understand, the novellas are going to be separate, but they're all going to have a goblin involved in the novella, hence the title. And I think Goodreads has like a little snippet of like synopsis for each single one of the novellas in case that you want to check it out to see if it's going to be something for you. But I have read Bird Box by Josh Malerman. I think most of us have already, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm really excited to see what he does with this novella compilation. Our next horror book is The House of Dust by Noah Pearls, and this is about an abandoned house at the end of a abandoned kind of road, and it is a house in Tennessee that it is kind of crumbling down, but it is in front of an old plantation. So apparently there are some discoveries that are being made in this house, like bizarre symbols and kind of remains of possible burial rites, something like that. It just sounds so intriguing to me because it sounds like kind of a haunted house story because of something that happened there, but kind of like with a twist, so I'm really excited. Our next story is a dark feminist modern gothic tale, and it's called Madame or Madame by Phoebe Wine, and you know, I'm excited about this one. There's something about gothic novels that they are just impossible to refuse, and I love that this is going to be a modern interpretation of it and bringing some real darkness and feminism into it. I also love that this is based on a Scottish boarding school for girls where they are supposed to train them so that they are going to be useful for society. And we follow also a 26-year-old teacher, a classics teacher, that is being sent there, and she's going to make some dark discoveries in this place. So we're putting together many elements that I love. I love boarding schools, a castle that is in Scotland that serves as a boarding school, and we have a gothic tale here, and I'm like, yes please. Then we have Screams from the Void by Anne Tibbett, and this is sci-fi combined with horror. You know guys, love those two things together. And we are following here a crew in space that has been for 2 years in space, kind of collecting plants and sample of botanical, you know, life outside of Earth. And one day one foreign kind of creature gets into the ship, and the crew will have to try to survive. So it's kind of like, you know, your typical story like Alien or Event Horizon, stuff like that. But I just love sci-fi combined with horror, especially when there is creatures. Now that I was talking to you guys about the plot of this book, it reminded me of a movie called Life that if you have not checked out, I think that you should, because it kind of has the same concept and I really enjoyed it. Our next story also takes place in a boarding school, so jackpot. I love that. And this is a YA mystery thriller called The Ivies by Anne Doan. And in this one, the students in this boarding school really are trying to get into the best college possible, and they will go as far as killing for it. According to the synopsis of the book, the Ivies is this university that it's supposed to be, you know, one of the best, so a lot of people really want to get in. Now, something that I don't know if I'm going to enjoy about the book is that the synopsis says that there are 5 girls that are trying to get a spot at this college, and they're going to fight for it, even if that means killing somebody, because obviously somebody's gonna end up dead in this book. That's, you know, what you expect from a murder mystery. And you know, I hope that this book is not going to be one of those that puts women against women, because we're not here for this anymore. You know, we're not here to just fight other women. So I hope that it's not really focused on these 5 girls, and that it's kind of more the students in general would do anything to get to this university, but we shall see. Then we have Bodies, a romantic bloodbath, and this is adult horror. I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce the author's name. And we follow a guy that is a kind of a high school student that is also a sociopath, but he's really good as well with technology and science and all of those things. And after he gets rejected by, you know, this girl that he likes, he decides he's going to create kind of a clone of her, just better. Now it says this is for fans of Quentin Tarantino, Stephen King, and American Psycho, and I'm like, excuse me? Yes please, all of these 3, all of the above. And also it comes in Goodreads at the very end with a really big warning that says, you know, that there is mature language, a lot of, you know, things are being described in detail. So I am expecting this to be really messed up and disturbing. That's what I understand by this warning. It doesn't say any trigger warning in specific. I think it's just there's a lot of adult content, so it's probably going to be really gory, things like that. So if you're, you know, interested in this one, be aware it might not be for newbies of the horror genre, or for people that don't like their horror too messed up, disturbing, and gory. And with that, you guys, we have made it through the 15 book releases that I wanted to talk to you about that are coming out in the month of May. As always, I know there are many more out there that I might have missed, so let me know down below what else do you have on your radar that it's coming out in the month of May. Is there any book in May that you have pre-ordered because you have to have it, or you are super excited that is finally coming out? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really hope that this book was useful. If I added more books to your TBR pile, sorry not sorry. And I hope to see you all guys in the next coffee time. Bye.